616-774-2424. That's 616-774-2424. It's West Michigan Live with Justin Barkley on Wood Radio.
Oh, good morning. What a glorious, beautiful morning so far. Well, the sun is shining high atop downtown Grand Rapids in West Michigan. And yes, this is West Michigan Live. And one day till Election Day, folks. You changed your clocks back this weekend. We change our state and our nation tomorrow.
News, weather, and traffic.
Here we go.
And the biggest stories of the day. We're talking about what matters most in West Michigan and beyond. This is the Big Three. Now, today's Big Three.
The stories about emotion. We talk about these around the water cold as dinner tunnel. No matter where you are, these stories powered by our good friends at Heartland Home Mortgage. Yes, I've been warning you. Time to take advantage, whether you saved thousands before because you were listening or you'd like to save some money, put a little bit more back in your pocket today. Using the equity in your home, they can help you. Lots of different solutions. Call Dave Galloway and the team at 616-974-9105 or visit Heartland Home Mortgage online at hhmlending.com.
Number one.
One day, that's it. One day until Election Day. Republicans now favored to take the Senate, according to the latest odds. And a nail-biter in Oregon. Gubernatorial race there, Republican could win for the first time in 40 years. Lots of talk, lots of polls, but the reality is tomorrow everything's on the line. We'll talk about those races and talk to the candidates coming up in just moments this morning.
Number two.
President Trump reportedly planning on kicking off the 2024 election cycle by announcing an official presidential bid as soon as November 14th. The rumor mill says. I don't know about that. I've heard some contradictory things, and, I'll get into some of that later, but he's been out stumping. He has been out with rallies filled to the brim. We'll talk about what happened over the weekend. One of those, I think, amazing moments happened with a prayer in Pennsylvania.
Number three.
The Houston Astros beating the Phillies Saturday, winning their second World Series title. It's the first since admitting some players cheated, but that's okay. They say Mattress Mac is very happy. This is a guy that owns a mattress business. $9 million. He's $10 million somewhere in there. He put on the line, made $75 million. Incredible numbers. But speaking of which, the numbers we want to know about, talk about are tomorrow's numbers, the totals at the polls. Tudor Dixon joining us right now, running for governor here in Michigan. Good morning, Ms. Dixon. How are you?
Good morning. Thank you for having me.
You guys are down to the wire. You are, you're fighting. And I got to tell you, even later tonight, you're going to be back in West Michigan with a welcome home rally tonight.
That's right. We are very excited. We will be in Grand Rapids, but we'll be all around the state first. We're headed to Adrian and then Portage, and we'll be back in Grand Rapids. We are very excited about what's going to go. And just tomorrow, the election, make sure you get out and vote. Make sure everybody knows tomorrow is election day. You got to get out to the polls. Yeah, a lot of people you're watching these numbers, and we'll talk about this with me. What about this poll or what about that poll? But the truth is, and this is always how it is, the only poll that matters is the one on election day. Right, exactly. And we feel a lot of energy on the ground. We've gone all over the state. We have great attendance at our rallies, hundreds of people out there every day, excited to vote, excited to get out there, excited to bring the state back, concerned about education, concerned about crime, concerned about bringing back businesses. And we have a plan for that.
As a father, two daughters now, I look at the state of things, and I know I'm hearing the same thing. You probably are too. As a mom, you're hearing the same thing. But people are very concerned about their kids. What's happening in the schools is top of mind. Parental authority, the right of the parents to be able to raise their kid the way they see fit. But not only that, you've got the crime, as you mentioned, but the issues with inflation, by inflation, constantly attacking your wallet, and these are all things that you're facing on the campaign front. But you've got plans for all of them. You talked to them at length, and it seems like your opponent, the governor, who we've seen 4 years have gotten us. The pretty simple question, I asked it earlier this weekend, is: are you better off now than you were 4 years ago? And it's a flat no for everyone.
Right. And when you talk about inflation, remember that Gretchen Whitmer has come out and said there's nothing she can do about inflation, but that's simply not true. In fact, she could have done many things already about inflation in the state of Michigan to help people get money back in their pockets, but she's vetoed all of those opportunities. She vetoed a child tax credit. She vetoed twice two different reductions in personal income tax, a reduction in the retirement tax. She vetoed a gas tax holiday. She's also vetoed help for students, help for reading scholarships. She vetoed that. Summer school, she vetoed that. She has vetoed more help than most other governors have even been offered by their legislature. But she has not come out for the people. If she had her way, she would raise taxes every time. Remember 2018, she said she would never raise the gas tax, and that was one of the first things she tried to do.
Yeah, and had the opportunity, as you said, to help folks and are feeling the pinch right now. So, okay, so we know it's important to get out and vote. But can you take somebody with you? Can you bring a couple of friends with you? Because this election, I think most of us really, I mean, we kind of have an inkling, but do we really understand the impact?
I think that people are starting to get it. We stopped this morning before we got on the road and had a gentleman come up to me and he said, you know what? I was not even planning on voting this year and I decided to vote for you. We've heard a lot of that. I think that people are getting it. People are going up, but that doesn't mean you shouldn't talk about it. Make sure you take your friends. Make sure people know, your neighbors know that it's time to vote and get out there and do it.
Hey, we're praying for you. We're praying for the rest of folks running. We're praying we can take this state and this country back for our kids, because we know it's now or never. Tudor Dixon, thank you so much for being here with us today. We appreciate you.
Thank you for having me.
TudorDixon.com to keep up with the latest. She's on Facebook, Twitter, all over the place. If you want to know the events she was talking about today, there's several of them lined up as she's all across the state on that bus. That beautiful bus. You can get out and meet her. And I believe Kalamazoo County, GOP, 4:30 today. The bus stop, County GOP, 12:30 today. Man, they are crisscrossing the state. Lenawee County, 9:30 this morning. About to make a stop there, it looks like. And then later, back home this evening. I think that's going to be around 7 this evening for a freedom rally. A freedom rally at 2 p.m. JB's Whiskey in Springfield. Now, that sounds right up my alley. I don't know exactly where that is, but that's up my alley. If you're in West Michigan, you want to stop by 5284 Ross Drive Southeast. You're probably going to want to RSVP on their Facebook page for that, for the Welcome Home Rally here in Grand Rapids. That's happening later on this evening. But that bus tour all across the state as things continue to heat up. We'll talk to another candidate, Attorney General candidate, Matt DePerno, fighting for you. Fighting for our kids. Our conversation continues after this.
Live free with Jacobs Financial.
Well, it couldn't have come at a better time. As you're looking at your statements and as the market seems to keep trending downward lately, the 35% bonus is back for a limited time at Jacobs Financial. What that means is that whatever money you roll over to Jacobs Financial, you'll get an instant 35% bonus added on top.
1 second, folks. Got to take a quick break. Got to do something behind the scenes. Stand by.
Jacobs Financial has created a unique retirement strategy.
I don't know if you can hear. Now maybe you can hear me better. I got to take a quick break, folks. Got to do something behind the scenes. Stand by. Okay. Here we go. Let me say good morning to a few folks over on Facebook. Listen, it has never been more important to share a broadcast. Please do so today. Whether you're watching on Facebook, Twitter, Twitch, Rumble, any of those places, we got to make sure we get the word out about this. This is a big day for this, folks. Steve, good morning. Kathy, Jessica, Tyler, Tammy, Donna, Colette, Matt, Michael, Ann, and many others over on Facebook. What about the Rumblers? Rumble, rumble, rumble. Good to see you, Rumblers. Good to see you. Roxanne, Faye, Brumbies fan. Benjamin Martin. Many others. Aileen, good to see you too. Let's see. Why are we not live? Oh, there's a weird button thing over on Getter. Getter folks, sorry. We should be live now. It's for some reason it got unclicked. But this thing's supposed to start on its own. I'm not supposed to have to do anything to it. But somehow it looked like it got unclicked. Much better sounding tonight than today than last night. I don't know what's going on last night. I am feeling better. Dick, of course, talking about the locals fireside chat. And we do those. If you haven't joined over on locals yet, love to see you there. justinbarclay.com/locals to stay up on top of it all. Stand by right back after this. You can sound off at any time. Hit the button. 9. Ready to go. It's 616-774-2424, or you can on microphone there on the iHeartRadio app. Click that talkback feature, and you can rant, rave, ask a question, whatever you'd like. Either way, we'd love to hear from you. Tough moment for Democrats coming up in the day or so. It looks like it, at least anyway, but this was a tough moment for one Democrat. This is Governor Hochul, Kathy Hochul, on MSNBC's show, The 11th Hour, and they doubled that. She's talking about how she said, I don't see the issue with crime. I don't know. And the lady had to stop her. Mm. Oh man, can you imagine saying that she kind of like drew back a little bit? She drew back a little bit when she gave her the business. Body language. Oh, well, it's not just New York. It's all across the country. These Democrat defund the police policies have led us to the situation where we are in right now. We've got these folks that want to be, take it easy on the criminals and tough on the victims. It's just upside down. It's completely backwards. Matt DePerno's running for attorney general. He's seen this in his opponent for having to fight this type of thing every day. And I know crime is top of your list. Matt, appreciate you being here with us today.
Thanks for having me on, Justin. Good morning, day before Election Day.
You guys are right down to the wire now, but you're hearing the same thing. We just talked to Tudor Dixon. Crime, another big issue. You've got a border that's wide open. You've got fentanyl pouring across it, killing our young folks. You've got crime at a major issue here in Michigan, and particularly in Grand Rapids. We're seeing it, these car thefts up 700%. It's unthinkable.
Yeah, absolutely. Up 750% across the state. We got people doing rolling stops now in Detroit, Grand Rapids, Pontiac. It's a terrible crime wave. Murders are up 30%. And, Dana Nessel does nothing about it because she doesn't care about those issues. She has purely a social agenda that she tries to push and doesn't care about the meat and potato issues that people across the state care about when they sit down with their families at dinner and talk about. Dana Nessel is completely out of touch.
Yeah, one of the issues that you're talking about specifically is and that's wacky that we even have to have this conversation. But do the parents get to have a say so in raising their kids? What is taught to them medically? What may happen to them? Do the parents get to have any role there at all? We're living in an upside down world where folks on the left, like Dana Nessel, said he want a drag queen in every school.
Yeah, and listen, the Democrats have been pushing this ideology for a long time. Hillary Clinton wrote about it when she wrote that it takes a village. The idea has always been for the state to divide children from their parents, and that helps them indoctrinate the children then. So right now, what you see is the Michigan Department of Education, Dana Nessel and Gretchen Whitmer, pushing this idea through teachers that they have to be able to separate children, parents, and they do it through critical race theory. If you can divide them in parents, then you can indoctrinate the children and take control of them. And that's what they've been pushing for. That's what the drag queen in every school would do. The media loves to come out and say, Dana Nessel was joking, but we know she wasn't. If you actually listen to the clip of her talking and saying that, there was no joke. She was dead serious. This is what their plan is.
You know, speaking of crime, is to come back on this and touch on this. Saw somebody tweet over the weekend. This is how out of touch and just ridiculous some of these folks on the left are. This one individual, I don't remember who it was, but she tweeted, without murder, crime's actually down. You're not counting for murder. And I'm thinking to myself, violent crime, she says, is actually down. What are you what are you what are you saying? That's the worst kind. It's incredible. The stats are staggering. People feel it, they see it, and now we have an economy that's just completely off the rails. It makes you wonder how much worse things are going to get.
Well, they're going to get a lot worse with the economy really getting worse. We see that every day with the consumer price index numbers. It's not getting better under Joe Biden. It's getting worse. As the economy gets worse, crime goes up. And they're always trying to message some positive aspect of this crime wave and to somehow try to separate out murders from the other types of crime. Shows you how desperate they are, shows you how left-leaning thinking they are. And it's a terrible ideology. It has to change. We need new leadership right now in government. That's why everyone needs to come out and vote Republican tomorrow.
So what other issues are you hearing about? Matt DePerno's on with us right now. By the way, you can go if you want to dig in and find out more. But DePerno4MI.com, the website, you can go find out more. But what other issues are you hearing from when you talk to people on the streets?
Well, again, crime is a huge issue. Parental rights is just up there as important an issue. Education is a huge issue because our education system is failing right now because the Department of Education is no longer focused on reading, math, and science. They're focused on this social agenda through critical race theory. So the focus of education has changed in Michigan. Religious liberty is still a big issue with people. We've been pushing into Detroit and into Dearborn, and every one of the people, the religious leaders that we talk to, all come back to the idea that Whitmer and Nessel shut down their churches, told them they couldn't worship in their synagogues or churches anymore. And they're angry about it. They never want to see that happen again. They want their religious liberties protected. And business economy just is important. We have businesses leaving the state. We need to bring businesses back. Employees, restaurants can't fill their employee rosters anymore because people have left the state. They've gone to business-friendly states like Indiana, Tennessee, Kentucky. Those are the big issues driving this election.
I know you're all over the state here in the next, the coming hours until election time. Thank you for taking some time to talk with us. Matt DePerno, Attorney General candidate here, looking to take the state, get it back on track. And we're going to need you in the fight. We can't just have one candidate or the other, folks. We've got to have all three: Tudor Dixon, Matt DePerno, Christina Caramo, who'll be on later with us this morning. And we got to defeat these radical proposals. 1, 2, and 3. Got to go. You got to say no to all three of them. Matt, if folks want to get in touch and find out more, what's the best way for them to do that with you?
Yeah, go to deperno4mi.com. That's a way to get in touch with us. Follow me on social media at MDPerno on Twitter. They still let me on there. But we have 2 more stops today. Stop later this afternoon. afternoon in Kalamazoo for the rally, and then our evening turnout in Grand Rapids, which will be the last rally we do until tomorrow. But tomorrow, it doesn't end. We're out in Warren again tomorrow, talking to people, meeting with religious leaders, getting people to the polls. It doesn't stop until the polls close tomorrow.
A lot of the fixing we have to do has to come through the Attorney General here, folks. Matt DePerno, much appreciated, my friends. Thank you.
Have a good day. Thanks.
Some of the other races that are on those ballots, folks, you're going to want to make sure you pay close attention to, particularly school board. We'll talk about some of those races coming up here in just a moment, give you a chance to weigh in yourself. Show continues. This is West Michigan Live. It's Wood Radio. All right, folks. There we go. Quick break. Tudor's bus tour scheduled today, 9:30, Lenawee County GOP. Oh, he's got it here. Penny Lee's got it. You can we'll get it on the Facebook page too. 12:30, Branch County GOP. 2 p.m. JB's Whiskey, which sounds amazing. I've never been there. But that sounds like my kind of place. JB's Whiskey. Kalamazoo County, 4:30, 7 p.m. E5 Ventures Hangar in Grand Rapids. And that's the one that I believe Matt and Christina and probably John Gibbs and like the whole crew will be there. So talk about a good one tonight to beat John Gibbs joins us now. Hang on, let me make sure I got him pulled up. Line here with John. Good morning, John. How are you?
Good morning, Justin. Morning. Thanks for having me on as always.
You got it, my friend. You look good. You sound good. I think we're going to be good to go here momentarily. I sound odd, Sherry. Well, it's a little bit of a, I get the crud going. Allergies? Who knows? Could be a cold. Those still exist. In fact, we got a report we're going to get to coming up here in a little bit that'll discuss some of the most interesting. I get these crazy stats for you. Listen to this. The Washington Post. Flu season is looking particularly bad. Cases of the flu are surging, and you won't believe where. And the why is even more astounding. I don't know how if I'll be able to get to it today on the full radio show, but we'll do it on the after show either way. Supreme Court, Michael, good question. They say it's nonpartisan, but it is not. There's a particular case that just flew that said, hey, we're not going to get involved right now. We're going to let everything kind of shake out with this Secretary of State, Jocelyn Benson, who's been breaking the law. Judge, I told her again, you can't do what you're doing with these new manuals that she's put out when it comes to elections. And so Schwartzel is his name. He's the Court of Claims judge. Said you can't do this. The Supreme Court, Benson went right to the Supreme Court and said, I need your help here. And of course, the left-leaning Supreme Court, because they say it's nonpartisan, but folks, there's no such thing. There is no such thing. If you're having a hard time hearing me on Facebook for some reason, you say the voice choppy, Joanne, go and check Rumble. Go and check Rumble. Anyway, they let that fly on Friday. We had that story. It's It's very important. So the two you want are Zara and Hudson, I believe. Zara, re-elect Zara. He's currently serving. And Hudson, I believe. Let me just make sure. Yeah. Zara and Hudson. Those are the two you want. At least those are the two I'm voting for. I'm not telling you who to vote for. But if you want any chance to get through, can I put their names in a stack? Sure, I can. Zara. I'll put it down here in the comments too. And Hudson. All Hudson and Brian Zara. So there you have it. Okay, folks. Yeah, no, I'm awesome, man. I'm getting plenty of rest, even with the baby. What about college president? Hang on. Maybe we should go through. Maybe I'll go through and read my ballot a little later on, folks, and give you some ideas. I can't tell you everybody's ballot. I can't look at all of them, but I can. I can definitely look through mine. All right, hang on one second. Back on the air in just a moment.
Along with Stu this morning at 10:06 for the very latest of the news, what's happening, commentary, making sense of the world. It's aptly named the Glenn Beck Program. Coming up on Wood Radio.
You can jump in with us on the phone lines at any time. 616-774-2424, or in fact, you can get us the iHeartRadio app anytime you like with that little microphone button. Just push that, sound off, ask a question, rant, rave. Thanks to our good friends at MKD Funeral Homes making that happen. All right. Joining us right now, John Gibbs, running in Michigan's 3rd district, replacing freshman Congressman Peter Meyer, who he ousted in the primary earlier this year. Mr. Gibbs, always a pleasure, my friend. Thank you so much for joining us today. And, of course, in the fight, running down to the wire here. How you feeling?
I'm feeling pretty good, Justin. I think we have great momentum and great numbers heading into tomorrow. I think that we're going to look really good. So I'm pretty excited to see how it comes out. But we're not resting on our laurels. We are out there still meeting folks and talking to lots of people. So I think we're going to be in good shape.
There is it's an all-out effort right now, I would say. I mean, even though the polls may look good, even though things may sound good and feel good, it is really one of, and I'm seeing this not just on a sentiment on a Republican, but there's a lot of folks on the left too that are saying, we don't know what's going to happen. Get out there. Everybody's got to get out there and vote, and take people with you. Make sure your friends and family, your neighbors are voting. Bug them, drag them if you can, but get them out to vote, because we're going to need everybody to get across the line here, aren't we?
Yes, we are. I think folks have really got to not only go out and vote ourselves, but make sure you get everyone around you to go out and vote, and make sure you tell them, they may think this is just another election, but it really isn't. We're not in the 1990s anymore, where Democrats want to raise taxes a little bit and Republicans want to reduce taxes a little bit. We are in crazy town now. They want you to pay $7 a gallon for gas because of the Green New Deal. They want you to get robbed while you're walking back out to your car because of defund the police and cashless bail. They want you to have your kids in school being totally indoctrinated with ridiculous teachings. We no longer even have basic male and female like when I was a kid. Now apparently there's 57 or 67 genders out there. So we are actually in crazy town. There's no more JFK Democrats. There's no more Bill Clinton Democrats. If you vote D, you're getting crazy. And if you vote for Hillary, you're getting Pelosi and Joe Biden. Make sure you tell all your friends out there that are independent or on the fence, they've got to go and vote out for taking us back to normal and stop this craziness.
Yeah, it is. The crazy train's off the rails. You make a great point. John Gibbs running for Congress here, trying to restore a little reason, a little sanity, a little common sense back to Washington, D.C. It's a tough gig, but we got one more there. And I've seen some really great projections. We've seen that The House may pick up, Newt Gingrich said maybe 50. That would be great. And we may even pick up the Senate, but we don't do it without everyone voting.
That's right. Yes, that's why every vote is important. We do need to have as big of a majority as possible because then we have a stronger chance of getting good policies through. So it's important everyone understand that we need to get every single seat to stay red or flip to red as possible. And we're seeing good signs all around the country. There are congressional seats that are deep blue that are in play. There are seats that went Biden plus 12, Biden plus 13 that are in play. Oregon, for Pete's sake, hasn't had a Republican governor since 1982. They're about to elect a Republican governor, and same in New York. You're going to have Lee Zeldin, who may pull it out against the Democrat governor. So things look good across the country, but we got to run through the tape and make sure we keep working hard to get everybody we know out to vote.
That's it. We played to the whistle and even passed it. Here's a tweet. And I thought this was funny. Somebody sent this to me too, and it's particularly it's it's about your opponent who's acting like she's a moderate. Hillary Scholten is out there acting like, oh, hey, Democrats, stop spending so much money, and Republicans, So she's out there acting like she's just one of the. Didn't she work for Barack Obama? Didn't she work for the Obama administration? Isn't she one of those folks who wants to defund the police? Isn't she one of those folks who is all about open borders? And wouldn't she just be a rubber stamp for Nancy Pelosi if she was elected?
Yes, to all the above. She literally worked for Barack Obama as an immigration attorney, which means her job was to fight against law and order and fight to keep people here who have been ordered to be deported by the lower courts. It's total insanity. She has supported and been supported by defund the police. She has supported this concept of cashless bail, which means letting violent criminals right back out in the streets. She fought to make our county, Kent County, a sanctuary county. Nancy Pelosi gave her $30,000 just a few weeks ago. So it doesn't matter what angle you look at, you are getting a radical. And people need to understand that in our party, the Republican Party, we have libertarians, we have non-libertarians, we have social liberal, social conservative. We have many different flavors, but you don't see that in the Democrat side. They line up lockstep with each other. And this means if you're getting Hillary, you are getting Nancy Pelosi. And if you get Hillary, you are getting Joe Biden. So no matter how much she tries to act that she's a moderate, it's simply not going to be the case. God willing, God forbid if she got in there, which is not going to happen. You're going to get a far leftist in there. So I think most people are seeing the truth. I had a young man come up to me just yesterday, and he said, I haven't voted Republican in 14 years, but now I'm going to vote for you because I don't like the hypocrisy of Hillary. So a lot of people are catching on to this. A lot of people are seeing through it. And I think that's why I'm optimistic for tomorrow.
She is very radical, very extreme. In fact, some of the most radical and extreme views when it comes to the abortion subject as well. Just really something that I think folks need to be aware of, particularly in such a time right now. She's running out there painting herself as a modern. It's just not real. And unfortunately, if she gets in, we'll find out the hard way. John Gibbs, rooting for you. And of course, folks out there voting, get your friends, neighbors together, get them out to vote John Gibbs. VoteJohnGibbs.com is the website, VoteJohnGibbs.com. John, anywhere people can come out and see you, meet you, shake your hand, and talk to you before now on Election Day.
Yes, at 12 o'clock noon today, we'll be up in Walker. And so we'll be doing a Get Out the Vote event up in Walker with Turning Point. So that will be good. People can go to votejohngibbs.com/events to get the information for that. We'll also be with Tudor this evening for the final rally at 7 o'clock in Grand Rapids. I believe it's at the airport. People can, again, go to votejohngibbs.com/events in order to see that. So, yeah, folks come out at noon to Walker or come out at 7 o'clock with Tudor. I believe Matt DePerno will be there as well. I'm over at the airports at I think it's at 7 p.m. So yeah, there you go. There they are on the website, those top two there. So folks can also come in the phone bank with us tomorrow. We'll be calling all the voters to tell them it's election day. Come out and vote. Don't lose your country. So yeah, those are the events we'll be at today and what we have going on tomorrow as well. So we'd love folks to come out and help us to make it a really good win tomorrow.
John Gibbs, West Michigan's, of course, 3rd District here, and we appreciate you joining us today. John, thank you very much. Good luck to you, my friend. We're praying for you.
Thanks, Justin. Appreciate it.
Yep, you got it. Folks, we continue our conversations. You can join the program at any time as well. Lots to discuss. One of those races that folks are going to be looking at from nonpartisan, but the choice is pretty simple nowadays. It's between, as John just said, crazy and, of course, sane. Doug Lee's with us right now, Forest Hills. And of course, in a very contentious school board race there. Doug, appreciate you being here with us. How are you?
Okay, thank you, Justin.
You know, we're watching what's happening. It's never been more important. And I think a lot of folks, maybe in the Forest Hills district, because I'm a parent in the district, or my kids don't go to school yet, but I live in the district and I'm a parent. And gosh, I have questions about what's happening in these schools. Not only that, but I don't think people realize that, particularly in Forest Hills district, our property values are tied to the quality of the schools. People wanted to move there because the schools for many years had such great quality, and of course, this is something that you would be proud of. It's not really been that way in recent history, and I think it's got a lot of folks taking a closer look, and particularly in Canada. Now, you're running with a few. There are four, and I see, the signs are everywhere. Robert Cribbs, Doug Lee, Kevin Donovan, and is it DeBoer? What's her?
Holly DeBoer.
Holly. That's what I was going to say. Holly DeBoer. So you've got the four to choose from there, and there's two different races. But Doug, let's talk a little bit about what's at stake.
Yeah, so I had 4 kids that graduated. I also have 3 grandkids coming up, so just like you. But as a parent, one of the most important things we have is our kids. When your kid comes home from school and they said, "Dad, we have great privilege and we're the oppressor," you start to take note of what's going on. Our district, we're losing enrollment to private and homeschooling at record levels because parents, instead of in the fight for it, they're deciding to pull their kids out and go to someplace else. Our superintendent is trying to cover this up and blaming this all on kids having less, parents having less babies in the district. But it doesn't explain the record.
Well, we just had two. We just had two ourselves, so I don't know if that's the case. I do know, but Doug, I do know somebody. I know good friends of ours, not only that leave the district, they moved to Florida because of the quality, the lack of quality in what they were pushing in the schools at Forest Hills.
Yeah, I mean, again, our kids are the most important thing in the whole wide world. We're not raising them this way. They're being indoctrinated by forces beyond their control. It's dividing the community, it's creating division. I mean, there's two schools as well. We say crazy or normal, but it's either a bad idea from someone who thought it's extremely smart or it's intentional. I look at it when the federal government calls us domestic terrorists and we're the greatest threat to democracy, something's wrong. So this is very intentional to convert our country from its core values.
What needs to be done? I imagine when you guys get in there and start able to do some things, what needs to be done, not only in this school board race in this particular place, but others?
Well, the challenge that we have, there's 13 people running, which is why you see all the signs in the area. We're the 4 conservative candidates running as a slate. Now, the idea is that we can get us 4 in, then we'll have the majority on the school board, and we can make these changes. One of the first things we're going to do is start to look at how we're going to take the CRT out of our school. Now, there's a lot of people, if you're not involved, don't think it exists. It exists here probably more than most places. So we've got to get control of our schools. We've got to get back to the basics of educating our kids. I mean, that shouldn't be such a radical idea. Let's teach our kids and educate them on math and science.
Right now, of course, folks want to find out more. They maybe want to return to Sandy themselves in the Forest Hills District. Doug, where would you recommend people to go to find out more about you, Robert Cribbs, Kevin Donovan, and Holly DeBoer?
Yeah, go to www.voteFHPS.org. That's www.votefhps.org. Our bios are there, what we stand for. I had somebody gave me a quote that I reflected on this morning. I think it really is true. I'm just going to read this because it's quite powerful. But if you are silent about your beliefs because you are worried someone will be offended, then your beliefs are not that important to you, but rather what people think about you. When you stand up for what's right and true, you receive both hate and love. But everyone will know what you're fighting for.
Doug Lee, thank you very much for running in Forest Hills School District. I appreciate you taking the time to be with us today. And of course, to share the latest. You got it. Thank you, my friend. Here we go. Yeah. folks, there's never been more, I think, on the line. Never been more on the line than there is today. It is clear what's at stake. One day till election day, and of course, we are counting down. Christina Caramo joins us next in the push. Please don't go anywhere, and make sure you click share if you're watching behind the scenes on the live stream, no matter where you're watching. This is West Michigan Live. Men, we need you too. Think about it. Dads, fathers, we need you to show up as the best man you can, no matter where you are on the job, no matter who you are. You're created with the purpose inside you to make sure that you show up the way you were meant to be. And maybe you haven't done that. Low energy, and maybe you got weight gain, muscle loss, fatigue, you're tired all the time, feeling anxious and moody, maybe you're irritable. I understand these things can happen. It may not even be your fault. It could be just diet, environment. Stress is all a part of it as well. Could be low testosterone. There are a number of reasons for this, but mentality is here to help. There are local healthcare facilities specifically dedicated to helping men feel and perform at their very best. You can find out more about how mentality can help you today with FDA-approved testosterone treatments. Board-certified physicians who work with most insurance. Go to lowtusa.com. That's low, the letter T, USA.com. Go to lowtusa.com and take your life back today. Hey, we need you to fight. All right, so folks who are listening, if the audio sounds good, please let people know that it sounds good. Because I just tested it, it's fine on mine. So I don't know if it's the app. You may need to go back in and reload it. I just listened on my end, and my end sounds fine. And how about the rumbles? Let me check in with the rumbles this morning. Rumble, how does that audio sound? Sounded garbage for you too. That's weird. I don't know, guys. I don't know what's going on. I literally just tested it on my end. It sounds good. Sounds bad on Getter. The iHeartRadio app. I know it'll sound good there. Or you can go to justinmarkley.com. But I would suggest the iHeartRadio app if you're trying to listen right now. You can go to iHeartRadio.com and click on Wood Radio. Got to bring Christina Caramo on. Stand by, folks. Going to test the line. Christina, good morning. How are you?
Hey, Justin, how are you?
Appreciate you being here with us today. Thank you for taking the time.
Oh yeah, I'm interviewed after interview after interview.
I bet it's crunch time, isn't it? It is crunch time. Well, I know it is, but I thank you for being here and for doing what you're doing. You're in the fight. You are in the fight. All right, hang on one second, and we will jump back on the air here. All right, guys. Sorry, I don't know what could cause that or what is causing that with the audio. Everything looks fine on our end. So who knows? But who knows? Thank you for hanging in there. Thank you for hanging in there if you could. Mike says all of a sudden audio is fine. Audio is good now. Sounds fine now. So there you go. Here we go, folks. Oh my goodness. Oh, we are just one day out, folks. Less than 24 hours now. The polls are going to be open here in Michigan. And we're talking to all the candidates today. You've already heard from Tudor Dixon. You've heard from Matt DePerno. You heard from John Gibbs. Doug Lee, one of the school board candidates. Christina Caramo joins us right now, running for Michigan Secretary of State. Christina, thank you so much for taking the time to be here with us today.
Thank you, Justin, for having me.
We have been talking at length this morning about how important this election is. We always talk about it. We always hear it's the most important election, but this election really is. And we're talking about the fate of our state, the fate of our nation, our kids. How important is it?
It's so critical because, the reality is the people we're dealing with are not Democrats. These people are authoritarians posing as liberals. We look at the just bizarre obsession with sexually indoctrinating our children, how they're demonizing people for wanting to just scrutinize the very basics of our election system, how they're gaslighting people to the extent to want us to not care about inflation and focus on other things, just abortion, 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 as though there aren't other issues that people need to discuss and actually care about. The reality is that we have to be victorious tomorrow because these are not incompetent people. These are individuals who have very bad intentions for our country. This is why we see what we saw with Governor Whitmer with the lockdowns. That's why we see Jocelyn Benson, my opponent, going around and falsely claiming there'll be violence and disruption, or potentially be violence and disruption on election day, providing no substantiating evidence for these false claims. They're now claiming that it may take a couple days to know the results of the election. That's crap.
Right.
When have we ever seen that? So this is the pre-predictive programming we're seeing, where these individuals are going around and putting these things out in the media. That way, if they come into fruition, the public will go, oh, they did tell us this is going to happen. It's like, no, they planned it out that way. And so we just really need people to wise up and lawfully resist these people by ensuring that we go out to vote. And also, Justin, if I may add, if you see something, say something. If you in Michigan, if you see anything illegal or suspicious, please report it at electioneyes.us. That is electioneyes.us, electioneyes.us, electioneyes.us. And that way we can see what's going on, because there's lots of issues and we need to ensure that people are prepared to push back and not allow these people to rig our election. Because my opponent, as recently, when the judge ruled she broke the law, she then turns around and appeals it up to the state Supreme Court, claiming she doesn't have time to follow the law. Now, Justin, you and I both know that neither one of us can claim that we don't have time to follow the law. We have to follow the law. This is the two-tier justice system these people operate in, and we can't tolerate it anymore.
It is someone. I saw a report yesterday. Somebody had posted some pictures online about which, and it appears this happens every year from what I'm starting to hear, is that they were in the homeless area downtown here in Grand Rapids, going around with a van that said something along the lines like $25 for a vote. So come on up and vote, and we'll give you $25. And who knows what they did with the ballots? Who knows how all that was handled, whether it's handled appropriately. But as far as I know, I'm not an attorney. 25. I don't think paying people to vote is really is legal. Either way they vote, doesn't matter. I don't think that's legal. Now here's the issue: when this got started spreading around online, there's really not much you can do about it afterwards, unless you go straight to the police or report it, as you just mentioned, electioneyes.us. But we have to get police reports filed for these things as well. You gotta have a paper trail for this kind of thing, don't you?
Oh, that's horrible. I'm not shocked, because I've heard of things happening this in municipalities after the fact. But anyone who saw that, please take a picture of that and report it on electioneyes.us, because that is totally illegal. Now, homeless people can register to vote at the homeless shelter that they're staying at or that they were last at. I think there are solutions to ensuring that we have a secure process that still protect the voting rights of homeless people, because we don't lose our voting rights because we've lost homestead. However, we cannot allow individuals to exploit homeless people and bribe them into voting. That is totally illegal. So whoever took that picture, anyone who has taken pictures, please submit the photos on electioneyes.us, because that's completely illegal. And those people need to be caught and brought to justice.
So we're watching all of this, Christina Caramo. One of the things that we know when we watch the elections and the process goes through, this really, really tough situation down in Arizona right now, where many have called, secretaries of state have called on Katie Hobbs, who is the Secretary of State now running for governor, to recuse herself and step away from that race. But it's wild to me, because we just had a Supreme Court here in Michigan rule on whether or not the Jocelyn Benson, the Supreme Court, or the Secretary of State here would be allowed to do what she wanted to do here. So these people who are affected because they're voted into the Supreme Court, they were allowed to weigh in on whether or not the process of how things are going to work with the person who's allowing these elections to run. All this stuff seems to be muddied. What can we do to clear it up and clean it up?
Well, for one, when it's two things. What we can do right now in the interim for today and tomorrow, as I said, electioneyes.us, because we are compiling all this evidence of people's concerns. That way, more people outside of our bubble, if you will know what's happening. So that's what we can do in the interim. We don't want people to engage individuals and confront individuals. We don't want people to engage in anything lawless, but just take a picture and report it on electioneyes.us. Also, once elected as Secretary of State, I mean, I will follow the law. That's it. My opponent just breaks the law. I will simply follow the law, ensure that we have an accurate voter registration database. As I've talked about on your show many times before, it is not complicated to have an accurate voter registration database. You just have to simply follow the law, ensuring that we have necessary chain of custody procedures surrounding the absentee ballot process, and ensuring that we have increased citizen oversight. But also, I mentioned last time on your show that we have a pending legal action against the city of Detroit. And we've found out that there is so much nefarious relationship between Detroit and Connect and Mark Zuckerberg for his organization, Center for Technology and Civic Life. During the case, it has been revealed that the Detroit had a contract with Connect, and guess who paid for that contract with Connect? Mark Zuckerberg via Center of Technology and Civic Life. So now you have this company with ties to the Chinese Communist Party operating aspects of the election. And the contract that the city of Detroit has with this company who has appearing to have ties with the Communist Chinese Party, that contract was funded by Mark Zuckerberg. If you can't talk about election corruption and the disenfranchisement of not just Detroit voters, but Michigan voters, I don't know what does. This
There
is
you go,
absolutely outrageous. There was a report on it in the Gateway Pundit.
Christina Caramo. We're out of time with this show, but if you want to hang, I can hold you over to the after show. I know you got a busy day.
Yeah, I got a couple of minutes, I got about 2-3 minutes left.
All right, Christina Caramo, Matt DePerno, Tudor Dixon, and of course, folks, we'll talk more about what's happening. We just got one day now. One day till election day. Appreciate you being here with us. The prayers for you, Christina. Thank you so much. God bless. Back tomorrow morning at 9:06 on the radio, folks. Make it a great day. Oh, we lost Christina, folks. Yeah. Sorry, I was going to try and ask some of those questions you guys had. I can't tell you blue pen, black pen, any pen. I don't know. Honestly, I can't tell you. I can't tell you. I don't know. I don't know the specifics on that. I've heard people talk about it, but I don't know the specifics. I am going to do an after show today. You're going to get a little bit of an after show. We'll see how it works. We'll see how it goes. I apologize to folks if you were trying to get through on the air. What do we got going on out here? Okay. All right. Here we go. Welcome to the after show. It's the show after the show. That's why we call it the after show. Never a dull moment. Trying to get everything worked out. And of course, finally the after show back in. You go have a baby, and like the whole life just turns upside down, isn't it? It's funny how that works, right? Of course, I didn't actually have the baby; my wife did, but you get the point. But it has been a wild week. We had that baby last Monday, A lot has occurred since then, and done my best to make sure I'm here with you at least until then. And we try and get some of this squared away. People asking what color pen they should use. Lots of different questions about pens and all this other stuff. I got questions. We'll try and get answers. I've reached out to Pat Colbeck, see if I can get him to come on with us. I don't know if I will be able to get an answer from Pat, if I will be able to get him on or not. Steve Redmond is here, though, and I know he's got an update. Steve, thank you for holding. Sorry we couldn't get to you the full show because I know it's jam-packed with all the candidates today, but you guys are doing something very important behind the scenes.
Yes, Justin. We're participating in Pat Colbeck's Operation Overwatch. We recruited a bunch of volunteers, got them some training, coordinated with the sheriff's department and the county clerk and the local clerks, and we're monitoring the outdoor drop boxes in Ottawa County. And it's working. We're seeing some suspicious activity, which we're going to report. But we've got a crew out there. We saw apparently one report of somebody dropped off 5 ballots. That's kind of suspicious. We've had cars that look like they could be mules that have seen our monitors and drove away. Others were driving around, checking out who our people were, and then they drove off.
Isn't that
so we
something?
think the mules are targeting Ottawa County. And we're compiling this and reporting it to the proper authorities. And to let you know, all the ballot boxes in Ottawa County are under 24/7 video surveillance. And so if we spot something, we can let the police and the clerks know about it, and they just have to go to the footage to find out that time and place and take a look at it. So
Yeah.
we're monitoring, we're doing our job, and we're seeing some results. I think we've been a deterrent effect for some, and by getting the word out, I think it puts the mules on notice that Ottawa County is not a good place to be plying your trade. We want free and fair elections, and we're all working together down here to make sure that happens.
I know that this is, man, folks, there's a tendency for, I think, people to get a little discouraged, especially when it comes to, seeing what happened last time around. But I want people to be encouraged to know this. We learned a lot. Folks like Pat Colbeck have been working behind the scenes tirelessly. Greg Phillips and Catherine Engelbrecht, who are now out of jail. In fact, they were released yesterday. I don't know the full story on how or why they were released. I just saw the statement that said that they have been released from being held in contempt of court for not revealing their witness when it came to some of the information they had to 2,000 Mules in the Connect case, etc. But Steve, also people like you have been activated, and there are people volunteering to help out, to stand watch. Law enforcement is involved. So some of the things that were tried last time around may not be successful this time around because people are able to kind of know what to look for, and of course to be out. And I'd hate to say this, but it's a thing. They're constantly saying, oh, there's nothing, it's nothing to see here. This is all just, speculation. They'll say without evidence and all this stuff when they report these things. But hang on, I've got a series of different reports today. Democrat poll worker accused of pressing straight Democrat ticket on voters' ballot, telling black people to not vote for candidates because their supporters are racist. Registered Democrat voter in Florida accused of voting in multiple states in several elections since 2014. And registered Democrat in Colorado arrested for reportedly tampering with a voting machine with a USB thumb drive. So these things are happening behind the scenes. We have questions about it, but apparently you're not allowed to ask about it. You're not allowed to talk about it. These are the things that we've heard in the last couple of years. If you do, gosh, you're just some crazy wacky conspiracy theorist. Let me get my tinfoil hat out for a moment here. But this stuff is happening. It's happening right in front of our eyes, and they tell us it's not. That's called gaslighting. It's outright lying to people. I do want you to be empowered. I want you to know what's happening. But, folks, I also want to make sure that you are encouraged to know that people just like you and that you have the power to stand up and take part in this process as well. And Steve, that's why I appreciate everything you all are doing.
Well, thanks, Justin. And we're going to have a great election watch party at the Marriott in downtown Holland, sponsored by the Ottawa Patriots, Republican Party, a number of the candidates, and 8 to 12. And we welcome people to join us. It's going to be a great party, and we're going to have a lot of fun.
Absolutely. Steve Redmond, thank you very much, my friend. I appreciate you. God bless you. And, I think I did already ask you to pray before in our 21 days of prayer. So you might be the only one that gets twice. Would you pray for us today in the 21 days of prayer?
Absolutely. And I'm going to take prayer. It's been used by Dr. Dobson at the National Day of Prayer. 2 Chronicles 7:14. If my people, which are called by my name, shall humble themselves and pray and seek my face and turn from their wicked ways, then will I hear from heaven and will forgive their sins and will heal their land. Amen.
Amen. I love it. Amen and amen. Thank you, Steve. Much appreciated, my friend.
Thanks, Justin. Congrats on the new baby also.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, it's an exciting time, isn't it? Exciting time.
Absolutely.
Doing our part.
Keep up the good work, Justin.
You got it. God bless. Hey, folks, be radical. Be extreme. Be fruitful and multiply. Be some of the crazy folks that you go out there. Start a family. Start a family. Have some kids. It's crazy, but that's the radical thing to do now, isn't it? That's the nutty thing to do. Be radical, start a family, have some kids. Hey, Pat, oh my goodness, Pat just jumped on. I didn't expect it, but I thought, well, it's worth a shot, Pat. Hey, man, I appreciate you jumping on last minute.
Oh, sure, no problem. Just finished my workout, so I'm ready to roll.
Pat Colbeck just jumping into the after show real quick. All right, Pat, let me bring you on the screen here. Folks had questions, and they're questions that I can't really answer. But I'm getting these all the time. You probably have as well. When it comes to voting, the actual process of voting, my wife's pregnant, had the baby last Monday. Here we are. She was so excited because she said, I want to vote in person. So she's able to vote in person. Does it matter? Voting in person, absentee, and things like pins and whatnot.
Yeah, I recommend that you vote in person on election day, whether or not you're casting an absentee ballot or not. And why is that? Because it gives them less time to figure out how many votes they need to stuff into the drop boxes and other places. So a big reason why they are pushing for early voting in like ballot proposal 2, for example, is so that they have advanced knowledge over how the election is going so that they can figure out how many ballots to stuff into drop boxes before the election. So early voting is bad. It's like getting advanced recon or advanced intel on the election. You don't want to do that.
So vote in person, but then the other question that we always get, because there was Sharpie Gate back in 2020, the questions about what type of utensils you should use. Should you bring your own? Should you use a certain color? Does any of that matter, Pat?
I got to admit, this is where I've weighed in on Sharpie Gate. The purpose of or the reason why you want to avoid Sharpies is because there's a bleed through on the ballot that would flag it as an improper ballot that's cast. Well, if you're voting in person and there's an error reading the ballot, the machine's supposed to indicate that you had an error with the ballot, reading the ballot, and you have a chance to go over and spoil that and redo it on another ballot where there wasn't an issue with bleed through. So I think the risk is mitigated in person. Now, you can always code these voting machines, whether or not it's at the polling place or an absentee counting board, to ignore the bleed through from an error code perspective, but behind the scenes actually treat it as a ballot that you can adjudicate however the heck you see fit. So it doesn't mitigate that risk. I just haven't really gone down the road of worrying about the Sharpies being used at the polls because ostensibly the machine should flag it.
So what about ink color? Well, a lot of people asking about the blue ink versus the black ink. Does that matter?
Once again, it's I don't think so. I just if the big here's where 90% of the theft it's done. It's done behind the scenes. Nobody can detect it, and it's done via fraudulent voter rolls, fake voter
Mm.
rolls. And when you have a Secretary of State that has deliberately relaxed signature verification guideline, which are kind of the last bastion in our absentee, when you cast an absentee ballot to determine what the identity of that voter is, that's a recipe for disaster. That's where 90% of this is happening, which means that, most of our election officials, they're just doing what they're told, and they're
Good
just
people.
they're good people trying to just minister the elections, but a lot of the theft, frankly, has been done behind the scenes with Jocelyn Benson and her cronies when they can't keep our qualified voter file purged of illegal voters. I mean, she actually refused to eliminate 26,000 dead people from our voter rolls. That tells you everything you need to know.
Yeah, why do they want that many dead people on the voter rolls? Really interesting. Is why did she refuse to do that? Marla says, Patrick, why were the absentee ballot envelopes mailed with resealable envelopes? I noticed this yesterday. The actual return ballot envelopes have glue and are not resealable. I see a big issue with this. Is it being addressed?
First time I've heard of it.
Yeah.
So no, I'm going to be voting in person this time. So usually I do vote absentee, but no.
Another question. I try and obviously I don't want to keep you very long, but Catherine and Greg were just the True the Vote folks were just released from jail. Can you talk about that? I saw the statement, but it didn't talk about why. Obviously, we know they were trying to protect their sources, and that judge had thrown them in jail for contempt of court. He seems like a very corrupt individual down there in Houston, Texas.
Don't know what to make of it yet. We're going to find out more from Catherine and Greg here soon. But they were finally released on the basis of an appeal to a higher court that said that there was no reason for the judge to have thrown them in jail for this. And for what this is, or what the ostensible offense was, is that the Catherine and Greg refused to give up the identity of a confidential FBI informant to Koenig Industries. Now, mind you, the FBI already knew the identity of that person. The FBI had all the evidence that Catherine and Greg had, and they shared it with the FBI in the LA County case against the Koenig CEO. So the reason the Koenig CEO, Eugene Yu, got arrested was because of the data provided by Catherine and Greg. Now, what's really strange about this case that Judge Kenneth Hoyt was presiding over, it's a defamation suit from Koenig claiming that Catherine and Greg were a bunch of racists making up trumped up claims around the Koenig CEO around the sharing of this data with the Chinese Communist Party. They claimed that was all made up. But the same judge in the case that put Catherine and Greg in jail for not disclosing the identity of this third person in this defamation suit refused to admit the evidence that was submitted in the LA County case that was proving the point of Catherine and Greg. He refused to admit that evidence. So something just doesn't add up. And oh, by the way, what the heck does a third person who saw this data in a room with Greg Phillips, what does seeing that data have to do with a defamation suit? In a defamation suit, you're either telling the truth or you're not. Why do you care who actually has seen this data or not? That doesn't make any sense. I've said this in multiple posts. I said, this reads like one of those movies where the bad guy is sitting there saying, so are you the only one who's seen this information? And if they say yes, then they immediately take that person out. If they say no, they ask them for a list of the people who've seen it, and that becomes a hit list. It just does not make sense, my friend. It doesn't make any sense at all. So hopefully Catherine and Greg will be able to talk about that a little bit later. But bottom line is they're out of jail where they should have been all along. And Eugene Yu, the person that actually has been arrested by the FBI because of violation of law, is sitting at home in house arrest.
You know, it really is something. The man who is really a criminal here in this case is sitting at home, and then the people that are just real Americans that are out there trying to get to the truth were locked up, but it wouldn't be 22 without a story like this. 2022 has certainly been an interesting year. Anything else that people should know or be thinking about in the next day or so?
Remember that the Secretary of State is trying to tee it up to foment violence in this upcoming election. Don't take the bait. We're seeking lawful elections. And even though the Supreme Court came in and granted a stay of the execution of the orders by Judge Brock Swartzel that held that Jocelyn Benson needed to update all of her election guidelines to comply with the law, citing at least 5 different instances of her violating the law in that court order. And then the Supreme Court said, we're not going to consider this until after the election. We're going to put a stay on it. They did not say that she was not breaking the law. They just said, we're going to let this election slide the way it is with their lawless guidelines. Remember that the rule of law still rules, everybody. And that should take precedence over the stay of execution from Supreme Court. Also, one other thing to keep in mind is if you identify any election malfeasance at all, there's a election tip line that you guys can share information with. True the Vote has one. There's a few different ones that are out there. If you have a phone, the number that you want to go off and call is 1-855-585-2022. That's 855-585-2022. And if you didn't capture that down fast enough, just go up to my homepage on Facebook and you'll see that pinned to the top. You can also go to electioneyes.us to submit incidents online. And also, I'm just a special request to all your listeners, Justin. If at the end of the day, when the polls close at 8 o'clock, please ask for a copy of the precinct tapes. So if you're out there at a poll, either a poll worker or a poll challenger, get a copy of the precinct tapes for that precinct and any precincts that are in the same polling location. And when you do that, go to electioneyes.us, and there's a link there that you can upload that precinct tape or a picture of that precinct tape up to us. And what I'm doing on election night is collecting all that information across the state, looking for vote tally anomalies. So you guys can all help out getting that information up to us if you can.
Pat Kolbeck, we will check in with you, I'm sure, in the next couple of days as things move forward and things really start to heat up. The importance, before we let you go, is it possible to overstate the importance of this election?
No, this is for all the marbles. Literally, we either are a nation of laws after this election, or those who seek the rule of law are very much in the minority. So having said that, I'm optimistic. As long as we can discourage these people trying to subvert the integrity of our elections effectively, we will win in a landslide. But we have to make sure that these guys know that we're watching them. That's why I launched Operation Overwatch. You go to operationoverwatch.us, you'll find out more information. But this is for all the marbles, folks. Pay attention. And and by the way, I'm going to be officially on the record. Regardless of the election outcome, we need to have a full forensic audit of the entire election record chain of custody so that we can secure our election system going into the 2024 election and onward.
I agree. I think we ought to be able to always check the work, look under the hood. Why wouldn't we, in these situations? Why wouldn't we want to know exactly what happened? Have a paper trail. I mean, if the goal is, no matter who it is, a Democrat, Republican, or anyone else who's elected in any office or any proposal that's on the ballot, no matter what the question might be, shouldn't we always make sure that we have absolute transparency and accountability in all these matters? Isn't it important? And shouldn't that be a nonpartisan issue? I would think so.
Right, and it's got to be done in a transparent manner. I'm not trusting Jocelyn Benson, our serial lawbreaker, to conduct this audit. It has to be open up to everybody. To this day, in the 2020 election, she still can't account for 170,738 voters that cast ballots in that election. That's not acceptable in an election that was decided by 154,188 votes. So now we need a full forensic audit, and and hopefully everybody will join us. It's got to be nonpartisan, and it's got to be very, very transparent and not conducted by Jocelyn Benson. If Prop 2 passes, she's the only one who could conduct that audit. So please vote no on Prop 1, Prop 2, and Prop 3.
No, no, no. And thank you, Pat, for being here with us today. Much appreciated.
Knock 'em alive, my friend.
You got it. Praying for you. God bless, my friend. We continue our 21 days of prayer. Thank you so much. We covered a lot of ground there, did we not? We covered a lot of ground. I know. So much happening. Let's take a quick pause and thank the folks at preparewithjustin.com, our sponsors, folks helping make this program possible. Of course, My Patriot Supply, all the food that you could need to possibly be ready for no matter what comes their way. I saw somebody asking in the chat earlier about this. What about the diesel shortage? What about the what's the other thing that people were asking about? Diesel shortage. And, the turkeys this year are going to be more expensive than ever before. Well, what about, I talking to a good friend of mine. I can tell you who this is. The guy that won Alone season 2, Dave McIntyre, Survivalist. He and I yesterday, we were at an event for a friend and that documentary for the folks at Base Camp, the Mount Everest climb. And he said, did you see the Mississippi River? I said, have I seen it? We've been talking about it. Oh, the railway. That was the other thing, Joe. He goes, yeah. And he goes, that's nothing Biden doesn't even have any control over. I said, I know it's incredible, but it just makes things worse. He's, yeah, he's keeping an eye on all of this stuff. This is a guy TV show by sitting on Vancouver Island eating, berries from bear waste. And no, I'm kidding. I don't know exactly what, but he did fish. He ate a lot of fish. And he's seen it. He's seen it up close. But this is the kind of guy that could tell you what kind of plant you're going to eat that plant, or you don't eat that one. That'll kill you. Or you take this plant, you can make it into rope. And the guy is, he knows his stuff, but he's watching this stuff too. And we all are keeping an eye on it. The rail strike is the other issue. So now we've been told that the possible rail strike back on after the election. We're watching it all, folks. Make sure you get prepared, no matter whether it's the Biden inflation that's gone through the roof, the cost of everything has increased. They have a big sale or 3 happening right now. Save $250 on a 3-month emergency food supply kit at My Patriot Supply. Just preparewithjustin.com. That's preparewithjustin.com. And a Black November sale. You can save up to 67% on all kinds of great stuff. It makes good gifts for people you love and you care. And you can get stocked up yourself. That's preparewithjustin.com. And by the way, Matt Harris, who I think I've seen in here earlier today, had posted in our locals group. If you haven't been over to locals yet, you should probably come over and join us. But he said that some of these companies, Aldi and Walmart, are doing some big sales. Great time if you are trying to prepare and buy a little bit more. Maybe say, I don't know if I can buy one of those big kits right now. And well, they do have payment plans and things like that. But if you're just looking to maybe buy a little bit more at the grocery store, whatever, for you and your family, and of course you want to have a little bit more on hand, this is a great time to do it with some of these big sales that are coming for the holidays here. Yeah, now he wants to shut down the coal plants. Did you see that? Now Manchin's all bent out of shape about it. I can't believe it. Biden said he wants to shut down the coal plants. Yes. And you voted. You're the one who voted for some of this nonsense in this Green New Build Back Better infrastructure does anything but infrastructure. But he voted for this stuff. Now he's trying to pretend like, I didn't know that. What do you mean? You didn't. Of course you knew this guy wanted to shut down coal plants. That's his whole plan the whole time. Shutting down coal plants. Joe Biden, crazy. I don't even know if he knows who he is or where he is half the time. But that's what he said over the weekend. Biden went to California, announced he would shut down coal plants across America. Manchin not happy about it. A lot of folks not happy. This guy's just nutty. You got a huge race, just days away in Pennsylvania, and he's out there just giving away the playbook. He doesn't care. You're going to shut down the coal plants all across America and have wind and solar and unicorn farts. Uh-huh. Yeah. and unicorn farts. So don't forget the unicorn farts. Very important stuff. Very, very important stuff. Of course, I don't know if you paid attention to what happened in Pennsylvania, but they had a big event. I think Obama was there. I think maybe even Biden came out for that. They barely were able to draw a crowd there. Had a big event. Fetterman trying to show up. They're all over trying to push these guys, and they are just, it's like pushing a dump truck up a hill. It ain't gonna happen. Watch what happens at this event. John Fetterman, the American flags. Pay close attention to what happens. Oh, oh, oh. I hate to see that. I hate to see that, but it's like almost. Oh, I just hate to see that. But you know what's happening at the same time that event was happening? Across the state, at an event for I think it was President Trump would come in. Doug Mastriano's on the stage speaking. I think Oz was at that event. Yeah, you just compare and contrast the two. At an event across the state, same time. You see the symbol in the background as they were on stage speaking? Look at that rainbow. God's promise of hope. It really, folks, you're looking for a little encouragement, you're looking for a little hope. There you have it. There you have it. Over the weekend, lots of talk about whether or not, I don't know if you saw some of these Trump events. He was out almost everywhere and it's crisscrossing the country. I think Pennsylvania, Florida last night, and then tonight, I forget. I think he's going to another. I think he'll be in another state tonight. But some folks caught this, and I know they were talking back and forth about it. This is his new nickname for Ron DeSantis. He just kind of dropped it yesterday. So he's going through a list, like a poll of who might be running in 2024 and whether or not he's going to run. And he says, Ron DeSanctimonious. And I saw the same thing. I go, oh, no. Oh, no. Not now. Not now. A lot of questions about whether or not Trump's going to run again. A lot of questions about whether or not he should and whether Ron DeSantis is going to run. And this is all this back and forth. So he dropped that. He dropped that little hint. I think it was a test balloon to see how it would land. And you have to realize that also, apparently, after that rally, that was in Pennsylvania. After that rally in Miami last night, he came out. Just so you know,
we're going to reelect
a little bit last night on our local show on the Fireside Chat. What I think he was doing there, but just so you know, this happened the very next time.
People of Florida are going to reelect the wonderful, the great friend of mine, Marco Rubio, to the United States Senate. And you're going to reelect Ron DeSantis as your governor of your state. And you're going to elect an incredible slate of true MAGA warriors to Congress, many of whom are here right now. I think all people of
So he says, hey, everybody's gonna go out and elect Ron DeSantis. He says, go out there and get it done. So on one hand, I think it was a test balloon. I think he wanted to see how it would land and where it would go, and I think it's kind of smart on his part. He's just kind of trying to see where things are at and what the win would look like. Now, DeSantis has not fired back. He hasn't said anything back. And I think that's smart. This is just Trump being Trump. And hey, I know a lot of people thought, I don't know if it's a good thing. I don't know if he should be doing it now. Maybe, before before he announces. And I mean, a lot of questions. A lot of questions on that. A lot of questions about whether DeSantis should run. I just saw in the comment sharing with Trump. I don't know. If I'm DeSantis, what do I do here? Because I will tell you something else. This is something that folks, we have another great situation. In Michigan, there is various different people in various different ways that they feel about the folks running for governor. But we had such a great bench. In other words, we had such great candidates, people that were stamping up, and of course, exciting their base and exciting their folks, and they're able to come together at the last minute. And we still need a lot of that to make sure that we get Tudor Dixon across the finish line. But I think it's very similar to what's appearing now on the national scene. You have Trump, you have DeSantis, you have Carrie Lake. Well, I don't know about you folks, but I think you watch her a few years as a governor in Arizona and the things that she'll be able to do. Now, don't forget, these people have seen and read the Trump playbook. You think about this. They are empowered by the things that Trump has led the way for. You ultimately have to say, these people owe a bit of their success. Now, they're successful in their own right, but at the same time, they owe a bit of their success and a bit of that, I think what they've been able to accomplish and get done to a guy like Trump who's come out there and showed them what was possible. But look at who we've got out there. And I know at one point they talked about Kristi Noem, and at one point they talked about who else was out there. And it wouldn't be Pence. It's not going to be, as much as the Democrats want it to be, it's not going to be, what's her name? Cheney. Not going to be her. She's just a train wreck. She was so unpopular in her own state. There's no way she's going to be able to run for anything. Pompeo, I don't know. I don't know enough about him, really. I haven't seen enough. It doesn't really strike me up front as someone that has the same sort of personality. And you may say maybe that's a good thing. I don't know. But that does not have the same sort of swag, the swagger, as even a Carrie Lake. Don 24, then Ron 28, Charlene says. Maybe. I will tell you this, Anna's right. God is in control. No matter what happens, he is still on the throne. He is still on the throne. And the Democrats don't have much of a bench. Now, they don't talk about her much. But they do have Michelle Obama in their back pocket. They kind of like her there. So maybe we can pull her out and bring her in some point. Gavin Newsom, I don't think he would be as popular as they think he would be. Buttigieg, Crazy Bernie, they They don't really have that base. And because if this election, if it ends the way that I think it will, it's poorly for them, they're going to be in disgrace. Another couple of years. Might be tough to pull that out. But I will tell you what, watch what they will do. They will start throwing Biden under the bus as much as possible. Throw him under the bus as much as possible that so they can kind of damage him enough to bring their own person, the new person, in 24. So keep your eye on that in the coming days in the election. I'm sure we will see more in just of that move anyway in just the next couple of days. A new national ad is dropping, folks. It tells the truth on some of these crazy books that are in schools. I posted this just the other day on my platforms, but I want to make sure that you see it too here. I want to warn you, although they've censored and they've bleeped things out, if you got kids, you probably want to do the earmuffs and just kind of turn away for just a moment. But parents, it's important you hear and see this commercial. This is the truth of what they're pushing in schools.
It really never occurred to you to put something into your not even a so you've never yourself? As a teen, I got bored of I then dreamed about having a massive that lasted all day. Do you feel sad that you weren't born with a
These are exact excerpts from the book Gender Queer. This book is being taught to public school children. America, we have a problem. On November 8th, vote to stop the sexualization of your kids. Vote Republican. Paid for by American Liberty Fund. Not authorized by any candidate or candidate committee.
I am floored that somebody actually did it. I'm floored that they actually showed you. And they did it in a way that we could air this. I told you before that the books themselves were so bad that I couldn't share them here. I told you before that the images were so bad that you couldn't show that on TV. So these TVs, by the way, this book is the same book that the parents have found out about it, been arguing about at school boards, and the school board said, oh, that's fine. This is good. We might have a kid who needs it, and yada, yada, yada. The TV stations have been out there telling in the newspapers that, no. It's just that these Republicans, these conservatives, these Christians, they just want to burn books. They're just prudes. Look, I'm no prude. But this kind of filth does not belong in the hands of kids. Now, if you have a kid who's going through something and they talk with the parent and the counselor and they want to get access to the book, the parent could buy the book for Pete's sake. But if they want to get access to the book, they put the book behind glass and they go, okay, everybody agrees, we'll take a look at the book. But just to have it sitting out there on the shelves for kids, anybody can walk by and view this filth, this pornography. That's what they're upset about. That's what these parents are mad about. It's absolute. It is a matter of just talking about insanity versus sanity. Restoring common sense, reason, and taking away
to public school children.
Radical stuff that's out there for the kids. Why would any teacher, why would any school need to teach that? Terry says, I'm an adult. I don't need to see those books. Yeah, I get it. This is why parents are standing up. By the way, this book, amongst others, in the libraries at Dearborn schools. This is why the Muslims, Christians, and Jews have all stood up together, saying no, taking a stand. George makes a great point. Purchased with our tax dollars. You'd be arrested if you read it to a kid at the park. Purchased with our tax dollars. Folks, when you talk about what is at stake, What is at stake here in this nation? Of course, what is at stake here in this race? It is incredible and very tough to oversell what it is that we are facing. One piece of really good news, though. In Florida, in fact, Florida Medical Board outlaws sex changes, puberty blockers for transgender identifying minors. The Florida Board of Medicine this week outlawed several medical procedures for minors who claim they are transgender, including puberty blockers and irreversible sex change operations. And some of these things would result in sterilization, and these are irreversible for a lot of these kids. The directive, which addresses standards for practice for the treatment of gender dysphoria in minors, forbids doctors from performing on minors sex reassignment surgeries or any other surgical procedures that alter primary or secondary sexual characteristics. Medical personnel are also forbidden from giving minors puberty-blocking hormone and hormone antagonist therapies. By the way, that's all the stuff that they want done here in the wacky Proposal 3, Radical Proposal 3, which, by the way, here in Michigan, they could do to your kids without your parental consent, without your permission. It's not just abortion. It's much more. The folks on the left would say, no. This is just about Roe. No, it is much more than Roe. And if any parent found out the real radical truth about what's happening, the real radical truth about what's in this bill, what would make it constitutional in our state, they would be in up. In fact, I think there may be at some point, if the thing makes it in, there may be a reckoning like we've never seen before. I hope it doesn't get to that point. Hope, pray that it is defeated. That's why you must vote no on all three. No. Proposition 1, 2, and 3, they've all got to go. Vote no. Ready for a Rona report? I've got some more good news and some more wild news in the Rona report for the high priest of health himself, Mr. Booster, St. Anthony of Wuhan, Tony Fauci. Oh yes, Mr. Booster. You know, I get to see a little bit of everything. Let me just say that. I get to see it all. A little bit of everything. So when I read this morning the story of the Washington Post, WAPO, I've started to note a bit of a, this is a, well, I think it's a bit of a pattern that I'm seeing evolve. They say this flu season is looking particularly bad. There's already an unusually large number of hospitalizations, the CDC reported Friday. Oh, the flu. You mean people get hospitalized from the flu? No. Because I was told the last 2 years it just disappeared. I was told that the flu just disappeared off the map. And there's only one thing you could go to the hospital for. There's only one thing that you could die from. It wasn't the flu. But now, all of a sudden, the flu is back with a vengeance. And this is what they say. There's already an unusually large number of hospitalizations. The season started 6 weeks earlier than usual. Many Americans lack immunity after more than 2 years of life altered by the coronavirus pandemic. Wait a minute. Wait a second. Did they just say what I think they said? They go on to say hospitals could be overwhelmed by cases of the flu, RSV, another virus that's surging, and the coronavirus. Don't forget, don't leave it out. You must include the coronavirus. Well, which one? They're all the coronavirus. Coronaviruses, or are they just like common cold? Is it COVID-19? Now that's a whole other question, isn't it? So it's funny because I got this report. This came from a local TV station, Fox 17. I got this one earlier this weekend when I saw it on there. And I just, my jaw hit the floor because they admitted again. What's behind a nationwide surge in kids getting sick? Boston, Massachusetts. Pediatricians nationwide are seeing an unprecedented early surge in the number of kids getting sick this year. Oh, baffling. I wonder why. It's leaving many parents concerned about a possible prolonged cold and flu season. Shelley Orman lives in Baltimore and knows there will inevitably be days when someone in her family or three gets sick. So far this year, Orman's 2-year-old daughter, Sophia's, only come down with a few minor colds, but with another baby on the way, though, the health of her family is top of mind. Yeah, I get it. You always think about that when you're having kids. She says, I feel like we just got rid of the sniffles and the cough, and now I'm waiting for the next one, she said. We are having what can best be described as an unprecedented respiratory surge, Dr. Jack Maple, a pediatrician at Boston Medical Center, said. Like countless other nationwide, Dr. Maple is seeing an incredible uptick of kids coming in with the flu, RSV, COVID, and the common cold, and other respiratory viruses you may not have heard of, like HMPV. Uh-oh, HMPV, you say? Oh, no. What in the world is that? He said it's the pandemic equivalent for children, absolutely flooding the zone. As for why it's all hitting right now and so early, many pediatricians point back to the height of the pandemic when so many young kids were separated from school or daycare. Stop the presses. Separated from school or daycare? What you're saying is they were locked out, they were shut down, they couldn't go to school, they couldn't go to daycare, these kids couldn't pass the crud around at the time, and now their immune systems are compromised and we're paying for it. And there may or may not be something else that could cause that as well. But think about this. This coincides with another story we had last week where they told us lockdown countries, the hardest lockdowners, China, New Zealand, Australia, all these different places, they had worst case scenarios. They didn't have as much immune robust response, so to speak, from the pandemic because they went with a zero COVID approach, which means they shut everything down. So you're telling me, and I wrote this in a comment. Just let me see if I get this straight. You're telling me that Whitmer, by locking kids out of schools, shutting things down, she actually caused what we're experiencing now to happen. She's partially to blame. Prolonged mask wearing. These kids didn't get some of the things that they were supposed to get. And of course, when they do get sick, it's even worse. Isn't that interesting? Dr. William Schaffner, one of the country's leading infectious disease experts, is also worried the current surge in children getting sick could lead to a longer cold and flu season. His biggest recommendation to parents right now is to get kids jabbed for the flu, for COVID if they're eligible, and continue to push your kid on the importance of washing your hands. These fools. So the answer is, hey, we know we screwed up. The answer is go get jabbed. Go get the hokey pokey. Go get the Fauci ouchie. It's unthinkable. And yet it is what they are pushing on everyone. Oh, just look at this next story. It looks like women now, and it's official, we're allowed to actually say this. Women, I don't know, that's a, first of all, that's a leap itself. But women, not just people who menstruate, but women have had their menstrual cycles changed. Pandemic stress is the culprit. Pandemic stress. Some had early or delayed periods. And by the way, this is from the Washington Post again. Others experienced heavier flow or increased spotting between cycles, and some reported shorter or longer periods. A new study found. They go on to say it's the latest evidence that periods changed during the pandemic. You know, it was the pandemic, after all, that did it. Couldn't have been anything else. There was absolutely nothing, certainly nothing safe and effective that could have caused any of this. Some researchers don't yet know if there will be any lasting effects. Even they're admitting it now. Now, you remember when this first started to come out, we had volumes of evidence on it. Women coming out in the thousands going, whoa, what is this? Postmenopausal women having their periods after the jab. Very good point. Diana asking another great question. What is a woman? Very good question. Yeah. So these are some stories. Now, you would have been, had you had talked about this or mentioned this in the beginning, you would have been one of those crazy, wacky conspiracy theorists. You would have had to been wearing your tinfoil hat. Of course. But now the Washington Post, folks, is conspiracy. The difference between conspiracy theory and reality is what, just like 6 months. And now I think it's getting less and less every day. The Washington Post, did pandemic stress change women's periods? Or was it something else? So there you have it, folks. Nothing to see here. Nothing to see here. Certainly, you're just one of those crazy cuckoo individuals if you think that there was anything else going on. Sudden and unexpected. Hey, at least when your periods changed, and that, of course, was sudden and unexpected, at least, I mean, it could have been worse. At least it wasn't worse. Couple of celebrity deaths over the weekend. Aaron Carter, the 34-year-old troubled former child, they describe him as, child star, famous for songs like I Want Candy, was found dead on Saturday. Aaron soared to fame in the 1990s as a solo artist on the heels of his older brother, Nick Carter, and his success with the Backstreet Boys. He's survived by his 11-month-old son, Prince. Dead at 34. I don't know what caused this. There's no way to know. One of his last tweets, he mentions wanting to talk to Kanye West about something. And that's strange. I'm not going to speculate because I don't have all the facts. I don't have all the information. But, you know, it is just a tragic story, nevertheless. They found him dead in his bathtub. Another sudden and unexpected death. Coy Gibbs, the co-owner of Joe Gibbs Racing and father of NASCAR driver Ty Gibbs, has died at the age of 49. Another young death. Racing team announced cause of his death has not been announced, but just that he died just hours after his 20-year-old son, Ty, won the NASCAR Xfinity Series championship race. Coy Gibbs. And I'm not very, I'm not very familiar with the racing world. So, I do know the name Gibbs, and I do know that that's a big name in the racing world. Heartbroken. We're all heartbroken. Yeah. I can't imagine. Who knows what caused this? Could have been, they said, excitement. Well, yeah, that was excitement. I don't know. What to tell you. It's just another case, though, of a very sad sudden and unexpected death. And again, I'm not saying that there's a reason that we know, but these deaths are happening more and more these days. I pray for their families and I pray for anybody. People that we don't even know that are going through this or going through anything that is similar. Tomorrow is election day, folks, and we have lots to do in between. In fact, because I keep getting questions about why are you voting this way on this proposal and why are you voting this way on that thing, and etc. I may take some time later tonight and break down the ballot, at least my ballot, what I'm looking at, and show you how I'm planning on voting. Just to give you a little perspective and maybe a little insight. But people have asked me those things. So to break it down, I thought maybe I would give you a little bit of a peek behind the curtain. They take you back there with me at the polling booth. I just find a way to get this thing printed and share it with you. So anyway, that's what I'm thinking for tonight. If you'd be interested, please let me know. Drop that in the chat and say, yes, I'd want to do that. Let me know. Oh, somebody copied and pasted theirs right into the chat. Interesting stuff. Interesting stuff for sure. All right, so maybe we'll do that later on. Facebook, or I think that might have to be a locals only thing. But it's free to join. Anybody can join us over in locals, justinbarclay.com/locals. All right, that's going to do it, folks. That's it for today. Much appreciated. And before you go, I should probably let you know that we're doing 20% off on everything in my store right now. 20% off on hoodies, 20% off on t-shirts, 20% off on mugs, all the gear, my book, I'll sign it and send it to you. 20% off as we celebrate the arrival of my little baby girl. 20% off of everything inside the store at justinbarclay.com. You can get all the details there. With the coupon code DIAPERS, 20% off everything. Make it a great day, folks. God bless.